Hi everyone, Paul here from FamilyWheels.ca with another car review for your growing family. And for 50 years now, the Toyota Corolla has been quietly ticking along. It's not the sportiest option, it's not the flashiest option, but millions of these things have been sold over those years. The 11th generation of the Corolla came out back in 2012, and this is a refresh for 2017 of that same vehicle. So don't expect much different in the way of how this car runs. The engine's going to be the same small 4-cylinder engine, but it does have a slightly sportier look. We have a new zippier front end, the back end looks a little bit sportier, the dash has been redesigned on the interior, and new for 2017 as part of Toyota's really aggressive play at making their cars much safer, some really excellent standard safety equipment on this car now as well. Now, since there are just so many of these cars on the road, chances are you have at least been driven around in one of these things at some point, maybe even driven one yourself. But we're going to put all of our standardized tests through the Corolla and see if it really can work for families in a compact package like this. That's this week, right here on Family Wheels. Well, I can see what Toyota's up to here with the Corolla. If you look at its big competitors, the Honda Civic, the Hyundai Elantra, they're both gotten a little bit sportier in their latest generations. They're funded, in fact, you can even get a turbocharged power plant for the first time in the Civic, which is actually a very peppy engine. Toyota, you know, this is a car that has typically been more focused on economy, and they want to continue in that vein, but also give you a slightly sportier looking car. So we've got these faux brake cooling vents on the front of the car, which kind of throws to much more high-end sports vehicles. Here in this SE trim, I've got this mixed medium seating surface with these blue seats. I'm not quite sure how I feel about those. And then the XSE trim, the sort of sportier level trim that you can get in this car. There's a sport button that's available as well, which apparently should liven up this car, but I've been told it doesn't really do that much. Because when you strip that little veneer of sportiness away, what you're left with is a very economy-focused car, and you're left with the same 1.8-liter 4-cylinder non-turbo engine on all trims of the Corolla. We've averaged this week, speaking of efficiency, this is a big reason why somebody's going to go for a car like this, 7.2 liters per 100 kilometers. And that's mostly in the city here. We haven't gotten onto the highway much this week. And if you really want to up the efficiency in the Corolla, you can also get what's called the LE Eco trim. That gives you a lighter weight design. It gives you low rolling resistance tires. It gives you an eco indicator right on the dash, so it can tell you whether you're, putting your foot down a little bit too much. You've got a continuously variable transmission on board that trim, which generally is a bit more efficient than the manual transmission like we've got in our tester here this week. And you also get a slightly different engine tuning just to improve your fuel efficiency a little bit. You know what though? This small 1.8 liter engine, regardless of the trim you go for, is a very fuel efficient choice. And personally, because it is a smaller engine that really needs to work, particularly when you get yourself up to highway speeds, if you're trying to pass someone or you're on a steeper grade, I would personally look at getting this car in a 6-speed manual, which comes standard on this car at the starting price of $16,390 plus tax here in Canada. When you've got only 132 horsepower to play with, it kind of sucks the energy and life out of the vehicle when you go for that CVT. And I know that the majority of Corollas sold are going to have that continuously variable transmission on board. That's just what people are after these days. But if you can drive a stick, you can save yourself a bit of money, because you do have to spend a few $1,000 more on top of the base price to get into a vehicle with the CVT on board in the Corolla, but it also means that you're going to have a bit more fun cruising down the road. And it is a 6-speed manual, which is great because a lot of more compact economy vehicles still give you a 5-speed manual. If we look at the Subaru Crosstrek that we were in a couple of weeks ago, we only had a 5-speed in that as well, and it means that the car is less efficient when you get it up to highway speeds because the revs are so high. It also means that it's rather noisy. When we look at this car compared to its competition, it's very quiet. We've hit about 64 decibels here this week at 100 kilometers an hour, which is really respectable for this class. Another thing that I like about the ride in the Corolla is even though it is trying to be a little bit sportier here in 2017, its ride hasn't gotten really stiff and harsh. This isn't meant to be a cornering vehicle, so it does tend to bob a little bit as you're going through tighter corners, but it also means that the ride is really comfortable and supple. I'm not feeling every bump in the road. The steering feel is rather numb though. I don't feel like I'm particularly well connected to the road, and once I do get this up to highway speed, I'm finding that because it is such a light car that if I'm passed by a big semi-trailer or if I've got a big crosswind or something, that it's just getting thrown around a little bit. I'm feeling like I'm being buffeted around on the road, and since I've spent so much time recently in larger SUVs, larger sedans, it's just something that's a bit disconcerting, and it means that this car is certainly far more at home on city roads than on the highway. It doesn't feel like a great highway cruiser. And if you're looking at this vehicle with your family in mind, chances are you're thinking about safety, and they've really done some pretty impressive things at Toyota over the last couple of years, introducing its Toyota Safety Sense package on all trims of many of its vehicles. So for 2017 here in the Corolla, you're getting the Toyota Safety Sense package even at that $16,000 base price point. You're getting lane keep assist, you're getting adaptive cruise control, you're getting forward collision mitigation braking, we have pedestrian detection up front, so if you're driving up through a parking lot and you don't see someone in time, the car's going to brake on your behalf. We also have auto high beams. That's really cool to see in this car, and that gives this car a top Safety Pick Plus rating from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety as well. So a safe vehicle to cruise around in with the family. So you get that safety package standard on all trims of the Corolla now. You also get LED headlights, and you get this 6.1-inch infotainment system. I don't love the fact that Toyota is not including Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in its infotainment system. That means that it's kind of lagging behind a lot of the other competitors. Some of the other things that you're not getting in the base trim of this car that we're seeing in a lot of the other competitors as well include heated front seats, a rear backup camera, and even air conditioning. You're going to have to get up into higher level trims to get those things, and that seems like kind of stuck in the past a little bit. But in general, once you actually start running your hands across some of these surfaces, really cheap plastic, some of the cheapest, nastiest feeling plastics that I've come across. Toyota does this with a lot of its vehicles. This clock, this old school digital clock, which is right in the middle of the dash, a real focal point, really dates this interior. Integrated into the infotainment system and just modernized the look of the car a lot by doing just that alone. You know, a lot of times in these more compact sedans, I have a bit of a hard time finding just the right driver position, but here in the Corolla, I'm actually pleasantly surprised. I have enough headroom, my legroom's good, driver position is excellent, and the seat comfort's really good too. But the kiss of death here in some sedans of this size is that when I wind up putting the seat as far back as it needs to be, the back seat really suffers. So let's hop in back there and see how the Corolla stacks up in the second row. Well, man, here in the second row, I'm surprised at how spacious it is. Not so much in the headroom department. I'm 6'2", and I've actually run out of headroom here. I'm grazing the roof liner quite a bit, but it's the legroom that's amazing. Even though I've adjusted my driver's seat for myself, 6'2", really long legs, I've still got room back here. I also like that in the middle position here in the second row, we have a totally flat floor, just a little bit of a hump. So you're not going to be resting up on this little hump and kind of perched up there. It's actually going to be a decently comfortable middle position if you do have 5 passengers cruising around in this thing. When it comes to car seats, also a pleasant surprise. Flipping this car seat around into rear-facing mode, we've got 8.5 inches of legroom in that front passenger position. That's just a little bit behind the Toyota Highlander that we were in about a month ago. And this is a small compact sedan. That is a 7-passenger SUV. That's really impressive to me. Once you flip this car seat around to front-facing mode for older kids, also impressive. Really good legroom for our little guy all week here. It hasn't been an issue. And here in this SE trim, we have this Softex wrapped seating surface. Now, it's not entirely Softex. There are these sort of inserts of fabric, which are actually really challenging to keep clean. I brought my dog in here just to see what it would be like, and it just really, this fabric really had that dog hair stick to it. But the Softex is like a faux leather product. It's more eco-friendly, and it's something that Toyota's putting in a lot of its vehicles, and it wrapped itself around the back of the front seats. So as Roger, with his mucky boots has been kicking the back of the seat this week, we've been able to wipe it off far more easily. I like that feature. One issue that I have with car seats here in the Corolla are the anchor points for taking the car seats in and out. It's a real difficult thing to reach. They're kind of buried underneath the seats. A lot of Toyota vehicles have fixed this problem. Historically, it has been a little bit of an issue for the brand, but we still have that here in the Corolla. If you're taking these car seats in and out all the time, that's going to be a real pain. Well, here's something that drives me a little bit crazy in the Corolla, and we saw this with the WRX sedan last week as well when I was testing that car from Subaru, and that's that you only have two ways of releasing the trunk here on this SE trim. First up is a button right on the key fob. That will release the trunk. So will a lever at the driver's position, but there's no actual button on the trunk itself to release the trunk. Why do that? It drives me crazy, but once you actually get into this thing, you got quite a bit of trunk space, 369 liters of it, which is really respectable for a compact sedan. It's also quite deep, and unlike that WRX, also quite tall, so taller items will be able to fit in the trunk quite easily. It's deep enough that our standardized trunk test reveals that the stroller can fit lengthwise, which is good news, and that means that we have lots of extra room for all of the other stuff too. A couple of bags of groceries, a diaper bag, a backpack, and a soccer ball. We've got room to spare in here in this little sedan trunk, and that's really impressive. I'm just continue to be impressed with how much stuff you can get into this little car quite comfortably. Well, you know what? Don't let that little bit of lipstick here on the 11th generation Corolla fool you. This is still not a sports car, but what it does really well. It's efficient. We've got some pretty good room here, not just in the front row, but also in the second row, and trunk space is pretty decent too for this class. It also comes in at a really reasonable price, and the fact that we've got this new Toyota Safety Sense system on board on all trims of the Corolla is really impressive and really does lead the class in terms of safety features on all trims. But if you are looking for just that little bit more space, a bit more versatility, consider looking at the Toyota Corolla IM. It's new for 2017, not a brand new vehicle per se, but new to Toyota because it was part of the Scion line of vehicles until that brand disappeared last year. Now it's being called a Corolla, but it does give you 5 more horsepower. It gives you 4-wheel disc brakes on all trims just for slightly better performance, and it gives you 588 liters of hatch trunk space. That means that if you've got a family dog, if you've got larger loads that you're regularly carrying around, that might be a better option for you. It does start at $22,500 though, so certainly a bit more of an expensive option, but a lot more versatile at the end of the day. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on the Corolla and how you think it stacks up to the competition, how you think it stacks up to that Corolla IM, new for 2017, and which way you'd go. You can leave a comment below, subscribe while you're at it, and then check out our report card at familywheels.ca.